This episode of Watch Out for Fireballs is dedicated to everyone who donated during Duckstream 2021, probably our biggest Duckstream. A huge success, all thanks to the generosity of people who donated. We really appreciate you. It's for a great cause. Very, very lucky to be able to do such a thing every year. Appreciate you. Happy New Year. My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Cole Ross.
And you're listening to Watch Out for Fireballs Dispatch, our monthly Q&A listener response game announcement topics episode.
Yeah, we are going to be answering your questions. We've got a topic. We're going to be talking about Duckstream. Just to give you a little bit of heads up there. Reading your response to Fallout 4 and revealing February's games.
Yeah, the month of love.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the month of President's Day?
Yeah,
or is that January?
President's Day for, you know, I remember a time when there was George Washington Day and Lincoln Day, and they said we can't have two Monday holidays, so we're going to combine them. And
just toss them all into a big pot.
Yeah, this is just one more instance of our liberties being eroded.
Do you think that all the presidents that are in hell are forced to live in some kind of big grand falloon?
Well, I think
like all together as one big flesh orb.
Gary, every president's in hell, and yes.
No, that's what I mean. Yeah, like just and they just roll like president, you know, da, 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 and this big fleshy orb just like rolls down a track, like as soon as you get to, you know, hell.
Just big and white.
Yeah, just a big white with a tiny little eye of Sauron that is the soul of Barack Obama. Already in hell. Due to your own crimes. Anywho.
Anyway.
The politics are good, baby. Let's get into it. We're loopy. We're after Duckstream and then also before our winter break. And I'll speak for me. I'm burned the fuck out. I need this break. Let's
I do too.
Shoot this motherfucker. I'm done.
Let's do it. God.
Duncan Geddes asks, are there any game series or worlds that you wish were mega franchises with potential or varied spin-offs, a la Mario or Final Fantasy? Or do you not want to see your favorites made into bastardized kart racers?
I mean, there's nothing specifically that I feel like a desperate need to see made into a kart racer spin-off kind of thing. Also, like there just aren't really that many like mega franchises, you know? Like thinking of like recent stuff, it's like stuff that I'm not.
Well, this is something you wish were made into one.
Yeah.
So, like, do you want like the Frostpunk?
Oh, and you wish were mega franchises with potential for varied spinoffs. Okay.
Yes.
There we go. Yeah. Since you understood the question, I'm going to defer to you for the first answer.
Little reading comprehension win right here.
A little bit.
Not really. I don't. But there's nothing that I want to see spared either.
Right.
You know? So like I can love like an indie thing. And then if somebody like tomorrow wanted to put out, you know, I don't know, Binding of Isaac kart racer or something like that, I'd be fine.
Yeah.
You know, be you know, content and it'd be fun to poke at. So not really. Sorry for the non-fun answer. Just
yeah.
I don't. It's not something I miss, and it's also not something I would mind.
Yeah, I think that, like, I don't know, I pretty much fall in the same place. The thing that would be cool is if, like, creators who I enjoyed were able to be prosperous because that happened, you know? But, like, you know, even things that I love, people joke about, like, the Dark Souls or Bloodborne kart racer, and I'd buy and play the hell out of that, you know?
Yeah. There may be a time I would have thought that would sully something, but then I realize that's a fiction.
Yes.
I think.
Very much so. So yeah, I think ambivalence is an answer on this.
Yes.
Matthew writes, I have recently been playing a heck ton of Dawn of War and its amazing expansions. RTS games like that are my favorite thing in the world, even though I'm terrible at planning and strategy and always lose or could never in a million years play against real people. Do you guys have any specific genre or mixed genre of game that you absolutely love to death, but seem to be incapable of getting decently good at? Side question, because what they did to Dawn of War breaks my heart. Are there any games you loved where the sequels were so completely different in style that it killed it for you?
RTS I'm pretty close on RTS as well. I'm pretty bad at RTSs, but I really like them. And that's why I only play the single player mode.
Right.
And that goes to, I would add that to any competitive genre that, speed is really a factor.
Yeah.
Because I want to take it slow and like build my base and learn how to do stuff. And the way to be good at RTS games and the way to be good at fighting games and everything are always aggression.
Yes.
And I don't care for aggression.
No.
So it used to be good at fighting games back in the day. Now I'm not, and I still like them in theory. I like the idea of these various move sets and kind of builds and stuff. Like when a new Smash Brothers character comes out, I like to see what they're all about.
Yeah.
But I'm not aggressive enough to actually be good at them.
Yeah, pretty much the same. I've at varying points in my life tried to get into fighting games, and it has always never worked. I just play it very casual, only do like the campaigns against the computer, and even do very poorly there. So yeah, I'd say probably fighting games. Like I would also like throw racing games in, but like there's enough of a kind of like say gamut of different like demands that are placed on you from different games, where like I can find and be happy at the Burnout and Forza Horizon kind of level. Yeah,
I'm probably the same way with racing games. I just haven't played very many of them.
Yeah,
I've been itching though.
Racing games are fun.
And then any sequels where or any series where the sequels were too different and kind of killed it for me. This happens with a bunch of this happened with a bunch of the Nintendo franchises. So like I'm not a Metroid Prime liker. Metroid went away for a long time with me.
Yeah.
As a not a 3D Zelda liker.
Yeah.
Those went away for a long time with me. So basically Ocarina did this for me. It's probably the closest thing I can think of.
And like this is not extremely severely, but after RE4, which is itself a treasure, I think just kind of intrinsically the switch to the more action focused style of Resident Evil lost me before it went back to RE7 style stuff. Yeah.
Greg asks, studies have shown that video games, especially mind or puzzle games, help older people retain memory, keep their mind sharp, and help with reflexes. Thinking about that, I bought my parents a Nintendo DS with some brain puzzle games a few years ago to help them out, since they're both in their 70s, and my dad is showing signs of memory problems already. Not sure how much it's helping, but they still use it today. Have you guys ever done anything like this? And if so, how well did it work? The brain age craze. Yeah. Kind of. I played Drain Age for a little bit. I don't know if it worked though. I don't know what measuring intelligence looks like, and neither does science.
Right.
It's kind of like measuring intelligence in some ways is this weird, very fraught, very political kind of fiction we all believe in.
Well, people want to take that number and use it as a reason to treat other people badly whenever it's done like at a systemic scale. So I always cast kind of a side eye at it. Yeah.
People want to have stats.
Yeah.
And I tend to resist being statted. I don't like stats or categorization things for people or for me specifically.
Yeah.
I had fun with it. It was fun having like a little puzzle to do. I like puzzles.
A little electronic Sudoku was fun in Brain Age. Yeah.
Yeah. Just but so it worked in terms that it was fun, but I don't know if it
Yeah.
helped keep me sharp.
No, and I've never, given a game to like family members. I think my mom plays a couple of like just real basic like sliding puzzle tile games on her phone, but is not like especially crazy about them. My grandpa fell into very severe dementia. Ended up in a memory care ward. Pretty much the most nightmarish thing you could imagine happening. Outside of like specific physical, bad things that happen. We tried to keep him in like word searches and crossword books for a while, just because like video games just kind of weren't in the cards for it. And he enjoyed doing them, but it didn't, it's impossible to say if it slowed his descent, especially given how far he descended before the end.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Difficult to measure.
Yeah.
If it's, if joy is coming from it, it's a good thing.
Yes.
In those situations, I don't necessarily think it needs to cure anything to justify itself. Not saying that that's what Greg is saying, but for me, it can be a good thing just because it's occupies the mind and, get some joy out of it.
Yeah. Sleepy Smiles writes, happy near Crimbo dudes. Enjoyed the Fallout 4 month enough that it got me to give the game another stab. Being a former Salem resident, the Witch Museum quest in particular was a hoot. Some of the details of Salem's layout are slightly fudged, but that museum is a real place in a cool old church, just like that one. Inspired by that, what is a real-world landmark that you would like to see a Fallout apocalyptic version of?
Landmark is doing the work in this.
Yep.
For me, because the real answer is always my hometown or where I live now.
Of course.
Like, there's but the landmark it'd be Chernobyl because that's me.
Of course.
Because I'm me.
Yeah. My favorite building in the whole world is the Ohio State Reformatory. People know it from the movie Shawshank Redemption and a bunch of other movies. It'd be cool to see that in a game because old prisons are neat. Yeah.
I was going to say it's weird that Fallout didn't use more prisons as dungeons, but then there's the powder gangers.
Yep.
In New Vegas.
It is strange that there aren't more, but the powder gangers definitely looms large.
Yeah. They're also like in terms of buildings, like the layout is very, industrial and lots of like little tiny rooms and stuff. I can see why they're not, because there aren't like a whole lot of hallways.
Yeah.
There's like a back area, but the cell blocks are, I imagine.
Yeah.
Look like a cell block of a prison. So I can understand why that doesn't show up in video games that often. The specific of it would be cool though.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, there's like beautiful admin areas and there are like workshops and stuff where, they had, gave prisoners jobs, i.e. Modern day slavery. Yeah.
And then who knows, in Fallout, they could have some new slaves there.
Yeah. Why not?
Carrying on the tradition. The Walking Man asks, I'm curious what your thoughts are on Peter Molyneux's play to earn NFT game. Where do you guys think the current state of the industry is in terms of monetization in general? Do either of you engage with microtransactions at all? The only thing I saw of this Peter Molyneux thing was see like mention of it and people talking about it, and then like immediately got so exhausted I had to take a plane to the moon and jump into the sun. I was just like, I hate this. I'm going to hate it. I don't want to learn about it. I don't want to get mad for energy points.
Yeah.
Today, I'm just like, not calling anybody out who's commenting on just being mad for energy points, but that's what I would do out of it. It'd be a way to get angry enough to get out of bed. And I didn't want that.
Anything with NFTs just fills me with somber thoughts of burning planets, and not just because of the environmental thing. I just think it's just grifters gonna grift. There's nothing that makes more sense than Peter Molyneux trying to get in on that fucking racket, especially after what he did with what is it, the cube, what's in the box game or whatever. Yeah.
Chaboy.
Yeah. So all of that. So it is fucking dismal that there are big companies like Ubisoft getting in on this. I think that trying to introduce scarcity into a system where like the lack of scarcity was one of the like only good things about it is fucking depressing as hell. Yeah. And as far as like microtransactions go, if I like the game and I like the developer, I will spend money on what's there, mostly just as a way to give them money, not so much for like in-game stuff. So like I like Super Stickman Golf enough that it's like I've played, probably tens or maybe 100 hours of this game. I'm going to spend $20 on the little coins for the hat game, for the hat gachapon kind of thing. If I get cool hats from it, cool. But this is more about supporting a developer that I enjoy.
I will unlock stuff in a game. I never do anything cosmetic in a general sense, but I will like Night of the Full Moon is a deck builder on iOS I played, and I ended up buying all the classes for it because it was just fun and they played different. I don't know if that's quite a microtransaction or an expansion.
It's fall somewhere between, probably.
Yeah. Why are there no aesthetically pleasing NFTs?
I think because
they're all the ugliest, dumbest looking thing I've ever seen in my fucking life.
Right.
Like they all look like tattoo regrets. Like somebody get one of these horrible chimps as a tattoo, and I'd be like, oh, I don't want to have that guy.
Oh, they look like Pogs because it's almost literally just like they made a character generator kind of thing with like different accessories or whatever, and then just procedurally generated every single the popular ones. They procedurally generated every single variation that they could in order for people to to buy them. So they're not like hand drawn. There are actual artists who have monetized versions of their art through something akin to NFTs, but like the ones that you see because they're ridiculous, because the entire thing is ridiculous, is all this proc-gen shit.
They're so gross looking. And I also think the artists I like tend not to do it. Yeah. So I'm not seeing artists I like very much because they're avoiding this whole thing.
Yes.
In terms of like industry monetization, what I would want is smaller games they didn't have to do this shit for, and you could just buy the game.
Yeah.
I don't, there is diminishing returns in terms of gigantor budgets and stuff that mandate this kind of monetization. And those tend not to be games I'm not interested in anyway. Yeah. So like a big, beautiful, eternal games of service game, I generally am just not that interested in.
Right.
And I think it's probably arguably pretty harmful.
Yeah.
To the art form, if not just the planet and everything. I think it can sit on an egg.
I'm just going to do an audio version of that meme that says, I want to pay more money for shorter games that look worse, that people got vacations while they
get paid more for.
Yeah, get paid more for. And I'm not kidding. Yeah, that's that I think is the only tenable way forward. Anything else that just says like, hey, this game is free, but tries to monetize you in other directions, just complicates the relationship between creator and the people who are paying for it, and that is room for people to get screwed. Probably most likely the rank and file people who worked on it.
Even putting aside any of the moral arguments, I tend to just like the games better.
Yeah.
That are not that. Like, to me, the strongest arguments are ones where you can put aside a moral argument.
Yeah.
Because that outmaneuvers any, accusations of virtue signaling or anything like that. Right. Like putting aside all moral arguments, I still would rather play something like a smaller or AA game. Yeah. Than Destiny.
Yeah.
2. I'm good. I don't need that.
I find MMO type stuff repetitive. Yeah. It's just
and I would just a bespoke thing that's made by a smaller team that has a complete story or does something interesting with mechanics is just better artistically to me. It doesn't even have to be, putting aside any kind of moral concern.
Yeah.
I saw a tweet at some point. I wish I still had it, where somebody the button on the end was somebody countering an NFT argument with, I just right click saved your mom's pussy, and made me laugh in a big way.
Of course. Of course.
So next time anybody argues that to me, I'm going to right click save their mom's pussy.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Anywho, Alex writes, the game industry comes together and decides to do a fun bit where they trade all IPs. Which developer and IP combo would you most like to see? Which one would have the greatest comedy potential, good or bad?
I want to see, like From Software. We've talked about, like, I want a From Zelda, like scary. Actually do Breath of the Wild, but make it apocalyptic. And then there's mine. You go.
Let's have Frostpunk Lodge and PopCap.
Ice Pick Lodge.
Pathologic Folks. Yeah.
Yeah.
So pathologic does take up pretty much any PopCap property, and PopCap
that
needs
bookworm.
PopCap needs to make a game in the pathologic license. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd play Picologic.
Yeah. Moving on to a life question here. Lucky says, well, there are two here. In real life, you find a scroll of Find Familiar. It can be any animal, and your constitution is not affected, like in some versions of the spell. You can communicate telepathically and perceive through the eyes and ears of your familiar, and temporarily, but for as long as you want, dismiss them into a pocket dimension. They act independently, but always follow your commands. They do not eat. They do not need to eat or drink. What is the animal that you choose?
I'm going to presume I can't just choose Pocket.
Yes.
Pocket is my familiar. If I have one, I've already found my familiar. I think that it'd be impossible. So assuming this animal is immortal.
Yes.
Okay. It doesn't have to eat or drink, but I don't have to worry about like a 2-year lifespan or whatever. I might choose like a dragonfly or like some kind of bug.
Ooh.
At first I was thinking a bird because it could fly, but then I was like, a bird can't. Like a bird gets inside a building, it's an emergency, and I want to be able to like spy on shit.
I don't know. I've been inside an awful lot of grocery stores where there's this birds up in the rafters and nobody seems to care.
But how many like record stores have you been into where there's just you can get into some stores as a bird?
You don't know how I live.
Not every store. Not how many record stores. Okay, not how many record stores you've been in general, but where there's just freestanding birds. Like birds only go into big stores.
Yeah,
they're funny that way. So I might choose some kind of bug for usefulness. It wouldn't be very cute. So my cute answer is Pocket. My useful spying answer is some kind of flying insect.
Yeah. Some kind of hawk or falcon would be pretty cool, but taking your practical consideration in, I think something like a ferret or a weasel would be good. Get that ground-based stealth. Yeah.
Yeah, I mostly want to be able to send it into the bedrooms of despots and murder them.
True.
So like something that is sneaky enough to get into a bedroom and strong enough to carry a vial of poison.
Nobody suspects the butterfly.
Yeah. My brain immediately turns this into how could I murder the worst people on earth? So who knows? But Pocket's the cute answer.
Yes. And I don't know. It'd be hard to pick, but obviously Greta. Greta would have to be the one. She's calmer and more compliant. Dottie is spicy.
More susceptible to mind domination. Yeah. Well, also it'd be real weird if you were if I were in Pocket or you were in Greta, you'd then interact with Dottie, or I would interact with Jessica. And it'd be weird.
It'd be very strange.
Like, hey, stop! It's like, what are you doing? I know this is sweet, but it's real weird. That's my rib you're licking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, there's a second one here, again related to D&D type stuff. You gain the ability to cast any official version of any spell from D&D that isn't a healing, cure disease, or resurrection spell. I'm going to assume that Lucky also wants to put in wish or limited wish in there as well,
or create food and water.
Yeah, create food and water would be another one here.
They're trying to sidestep the altruism answer.
Yes,
that totally derails every single fun hypothetical question in the world.
Yes, yeah. You can cast it as many times as you want, and without any spell components. What do you choose?
It's a good question.
I've got an answer.
Polymorph.
Oh, polymorph. Polymorph is a good one.
Yep. Polymorph.
But polymorph self or polymorph just in general?
Not baleful polymorph. Polymorph self.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Oh, no,
and there's a bunch of these that'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
And then a bunch of, I don't have a memory of all of them. So like part of me wanted just to like do a chump, like Tensor's floating disc, you know, because it would be nice to get home, not have to carry groceries, but I can think slightly bigger than that.
God damn it, Gary, I was going to do Tensor's floating disc.
Like, it's slightly better than not having to lift things if I have this magical power.
It'd be pretty good though.
It would be really rad.
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy.
I was going to do Tensor's floating disc, but I'm just going to close that out.
Mage Hand would be rad.
Mage Hand would be really good. Yeah.
Yeah. Bigby's, like Bigby's grasping hand, like a big mage hand.
I mean, just a way to fucking squeeze people to death.
Yeah, I'd become a superhero called the High Five.
Ooh.
And I would just I could sneak into the bedrooms of despots and kill them with my gigantic Bigby hand.
There we go.
Yeah. Yeah, they gotta go.
Oh man, got swatted.
James Lewis asks, obviously you guys are very much cat people, but from listening to you both for a long time, you seem to like dogs as well, and don't fit into that tiresome binary of loving cats and hating dogs, or vice versa. Have you ever considered owning a pupper? Hope you both have a peaceful and relaxing holiday season. Signed, James in London. Hey,
Thank you, James.
I hope that for you as well.
Yeah. I like dogs. They just seem like an awful lot of work and attention that I cannot provide to an animal. So it is fun to be a dog uncle, but I am more suited to being a cat parent.
Yes. I like dogs quite a bit. I think that if I ever own a house or end up in a big place, I would like to get a dog, and then that rounds out my pets. I met an amazing dog Saturday. Andrew, who plays guitar in our band, he watches dogs, and he had a dog, a black one-eyed dog owned by two like cheerful metalheads named Sauron.
Oh God, that's such a good name for a one-eyed dog.
It's a great name for a one-eyed dog, and it was a great one-eyed dog. I love this fucking dog. And every couple of weeks I go over there for band practice and fall in love with a dog, and I'm like, yeah, at some point I'm going to have to do this. Like, it is a lot of work and I'm lazy. But I think that would round out my pets really well.
Yeah. No, I love being around a dog. Honestly, I do not miss working in an office. Fuck that. Fuck working around other people. But I do miss working in a dog friendly office. Because just a wonderful way to get to meet and just hang around a lot of extremely good dogs. Yeah. The cat person, dog person binary is frustrating. I think the secret is like all animals are cool and good.
Yeah. Yeah. I watched a YouTube video. And did you watch this YouTube video that's going around where it was raising a grocery store lobster as a pet?
Like Pinchy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you watch that?
No, I didn't.
It's 15 minutes. They call it a movie. It's mandatory viewing.
Okay.
Watch it as you're going to sleep because it's kind of got Joe Pera relaxing vibes.
Okay.
It's not played for comedy. It's very sweet. But I did watching this guy like humanize this lobster. It was giving me like intense, like, why do I eat animals feelings that come around every once in a while. And then I try vegetarianism for a little bit. And it doesn't work for me, especially now as I increasingly cannot eat like cheese with abandon or like, I'm running out of to eat. I'm a polar bear on the edge of the here, but it's awesome. Like, you got to see it. It's great.
I will make a note of this.
Yeah, it's very good. The first thing, if you search Google or YouTube for keeping grocery store lobster as pet, it is the first thing that pops up.
Okay. Nice. Just imagine it's like that the episode of Review where he has to euthanize his bearded dragon.
That's so sad.
Beyonce, where's Beyonce? So interparty conflict. We're moving on to a media question here. As what are your thoughts about zombies in media? Are they overdone, not done enough, or just right? Is there a particular type of zombie or portrayal of zombies that you really love or hate?
I dig zombies. I think zombies are fine. I think that like they're dumb as a thing on shirts and stuff.
Yeah.
Like when we were at the height of that stuff. Yeah. That was a bummer. But before the absolute height of it, I was pretty into those. I like all of the original George Romero zombie movies quite a bit. Zombies are good.
Yeah.
To me.
Dawn of the Dead, Day
Resident
of the Dead,
Evil,
especially.
obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love Day of the Dead.
Yeah.
That movie, I should throw that on Filmable at some point. That movie fucking owns.
Yeah.
It's that is a cool zombie movie.
Yeah. I like that. I like it when the allegory is exceptionally heavy-handed, as opposed to just being kind of like the wallpaper, like
Yes.
Walking Dead, for as good as those games are and as good as like at least the comics that I read were, I fell off of the show, but where it's just like, yes, these eventually become nothing. The real danger is the other people. I'm not so much into that. I feel like that's just kind of, just the basic cookie cutter story that you can tell with them.
Sure.
And my love or hate of them just kind of like ebbs and flows. I think that just they become oversaturated, then they go away, then they come back in a different form. Like if this question was asked like 6 to 8 years ago, I would say, oh yeah, it's played. But yeah.
It doesn't, to me, it is genuinely good.
Yes.
It more often than not. So into them.
Yeah.
And specifically, I really like, my favorite non-metaphorical zombie treatment is stuff that takes place weird times after the outbreak. So Land of the Dead, what is it? Or Day of the Dead, Land of the Dead. How does the world move on from this? Like the Good Walking Dead.
Yes.
Story arcs. That stuff is great to me. I really like how do we do this, and specifically like the weird science angle of Day of the Dead. Like Day of the Dead's fucking thrilling. Like that is such a good movie with Bob like speaking English and shit. like it's wild. Jonathan asks, why is review so goddamn good? Because Andy Daly's a genius.
Yeah, Andy Daly, incredibly. I mean, it's incredibly well written, but like Andrew Daly, it performs that character so well.
Yeah, he really inhabits his characters. He's an amazing performer. I'm always disappointed that like he hasn't had like a breakthrough.
Yeah.
The world, he's never had like a Nick Kroll kind of thing. Like he always guest stars in that stuff, but he never, review didn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love review. And I think that it, for as good as the supporting cast is on that, like even his intern and his intern's girlfriend, amazing,
secretary.
Like just the supporting cast is amazing, pretty much universally. But I think that it does come down to Andrew Daly, that, and just like the consistent tone and rules. And again, this is a thing with heart as well. Like the people around him try so hard. They give him so many chances.
Yeah. It is a funny show.
Yeah. Goddamn. Let's see. Moving on to some show questions. Matt Bixler, hello. Says, I started re-listening to Monster in my podcast for Spooky Month, and it reminded me of how much I loved having a 5-minute-ish podcast with a very long backlog. Do you have any interest in returning to that very short form format? It's one quick chore perfection.
Thank you for the kind words.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, that was fun to do. It never did numbers. And I think part of that was because of the weird format.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's there's so many things that we would like to do. The ones that are off the top of my head that we think about or that we've talked about wouldn't lend themselves to that.
No.
That form. So I appreciate the kind words, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes, like that ended up eventually getting like, I think that I like that show and I think we did good work on it. There were near the end, there were not the majority of the episodes, but episodes would end with like, I suppose that's fine.
Yeah.
We can end there. And that was a bad feeling.
Yes.
And that was born of the format. So it is something where like, if we did something like that again, I think I'd want to have a limit on it. It would be like a short form.
Yeah. So we could hit it and then drop back out. Yeah.
That would be my feeling on it. It's I like that it exists as it is. Like it is evergreen for people to go back and re-listen to or discover anew if they like.
It is there. It is elemental.
Andy K250 asks, is Teenage Dirtbags effectively on permanent hiatus? It's all right if it is, but I just miss it so much. And so to answer that question, yes, effectively. Who knows what the future will hold? It's just very hard to fit it into our schedules. Hard for me to take on another show. Hard for Brayton to do a standing show with his current like work schedule and stuff. He was starting a new job recently, so everybody, congratulations to Brayton. And he's navigating all of that. So it's possible that will settle out in a way where he has some pod time. But I do not want to speak for him.
Man, it was nice to see Brayton on Duckstream. I didn't get to watch as much of your guys' leg as I would like to have, just because of the, I had to be ready for my own. But it was fun to see the whole gang over there.
He's a delight. I love that man. Second part of the question, I know you brought it up in passing recently, but what are the chances you might eventually do a movie podcast with looser constraints than Unfilmable? I think what is probably more likely is Unfilmable loosens than doing a separate podcast.
Or we end up replacing Unfilmable,
with like Filmable.
Yes.
The show about movies, but there's just so many of those, like, even though there are so many horror movie podcasts as well, like it feels kind of bad, but also like if we want to talk about something, that's the arc that most of our shows have gone on. Like, why are we making rules for ourselves?
Right. I mean, it's me trying to find a way to justify bringing American movie to Unfilmable. Right.
Yeah. And The Northman's going to come out, and then that's not a horror movie, but I know like it would make a lot of sense for us to talk about it. The trick of getting rid of that is there's so many horror movies I still want to do. Same.
There's still some there's still some tread left on those tires, right?
Yeah. So I would say the chances are good on a long enough timeline, but not, I couldn't tell you when.
Moonborn writes, you wake up one day, you look at Twitter, hashtag no Duckfeed December is #1 on trending. Days go by and it doesn't stop. The Patreon is going down the drain. You don't think you can make it to January. What do you do? And then P.S. silly question aside, thanks for another horrible year made easier by great podcasts.
It's gonna be a horrible year.
Happy holidays. And y'all are the best. Thank you, Moonborn. I felt the need to include that just because that is a horrifying scenario that Moonborn.
Yeah, that's not a silly question at all.
No,
it's a horrible question.
I keep a copy of John Ronson's "So You've Been Publicly Shamed" under glass in case there's an emergency.
I wonder what would happen. Like I would like the not having any context as to why there's no Duckfeed December.
So that would be the first thing. Like, how did we rate enough to make this #1? Like, man, we really would have had to fuck up to be like to go from number.
We beat the Omicron variant. More people are talking about not listening to this. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, to seek to understand, right?
Yeah, that'd be #1. I don't know. I think that it would depend. It depends so much on that context. So I've talked about this before. My backup plan, if the Patreon ever dies, or you Cole decide you don't want to do this anymore or something, is to have enough people who will follow me to go do something similar, and then go live somewhere where it's cheap enough for me to live.
Yeah.
On whatever that is. So I go and I live in the middle of nowhere in Montana.
Yeah.
And then I do Gary Notes, and it's just a podcast about whatever. And then I get $2,000 a month on Patreon and pay my paltry rent. That is kind of my backup plan.
Yeah. No, that's pretty similar. I have no idea. I don't think anybody knows what happens when the hashtag comes for them. Try and make it right.
Exactly.
But that's not
if the
possible.
hashtag is literally we're both radioactive, nobody wants to touch anything that we want to do. I apply to work at a Target or something. I don't know. I guess I would try not to do that, but I've got some savings. I could probably chill and look for a real job, but none of it's fun. It would just be this miserable office job I'd end up getting.
Then you have to explain it, and that might get you to sway. Yep. Yeah, no, it's rough. I don't know. I
would go to the Robert Forster in Breaking Bad.
Oh yes, yeah.
Get put up in the Alaska cabin, with Jesse.
Yeah. Chilling.
Yeah, quite chilling. Yeah. Fellow Tarnish asked 2 questions. What are the absolute essential bits of equipment you would recommend to a brand new podcaster? I've been developing an idea for my first podcast for a while now. I'm currently working a temp job for a company that offers decent staff discounts on recording equipment. Any general advice appreciated? Equipment, go.
Yeah,
it's you.
Equipment.
Your goal.
So I would get into XLR microphones as opposed to being stuck on a particular USB microphone, like your Rode Podcaster or Yeti or whatnot. You just end up like that's nicer, and it's not appreciably more expensive to get like a to get a Focusrite, what is it, the Scarlett, 1i2 or whatever it is, and like a $99 like Sennheiser stage mic or whatever. The microphone that I'm using, that both of us use, is very good and also not incredibly expensive. It is the Shure Beta 7C, I think, something like that. No, Shure Beta 87A. Is what that is, and that's just a condenser, like it's a handheld condenser that's on a stand. You don't have to get like an Electro Voice RE20 like $600 monstrosity, or even the Shure SM7B that's like a $350 or whatever. This one is like it's like a $200 microphone, so you could be like at retail $300 all in to get to get one of these and the stand or the interface that you need. Then you just have to get a stand, and then you're golden. If you have money to invest it in the microphone. Other stuff ends up being pretty ancillary, and can be upgraded at different paces.
Yeah. And if you are just starting out, and that if you don't want to spend that money, my recommendation is always, get something like a decent, like even if you end up with a USB, like a Yeti, those always go on sale. Yeah. It's not a great microphone. But if that's the money you have, it's better to do it than not do it.
Yes. That's the thing. It is
learn
best
how to edit and learn how to do all the stuff.
Yeah.
Somehow.
There's a particular one that I always forget the model number of. This is what I have sent interns to all of the level folks, as their previous like Samson microphones have messed up. Technica. I forget what it is. I had to send one of these. It is the Audio Technica ATR 2100X. This is a very good dynamic cardioid microphone that is simultaneously USB and XLR, and it is only $63. That would be the one that I would recommend you get, as opposed to the Yeti or like a Samson Meteor kind of deal. Audio Technica ATR 2100X.
There you go.
Yeah.
Cole, do you like Silent Hill Downpour?
I thought I did.
Second question.
I liked it. I liked it when I first played it. I streamed it again a couple of years ago, and it's pretty bad. Like, it does some story stuff that's pretty good, but like the actual play ends up being pretty tedious, and the open world elements are just so cursory. It doesn't really have anything to do with the actual game itself. It's just side missions. Yeah.
No. Thanks, Thomas. We appreciate you. There's some kind words as well. We'll skip. We appreciate you. Happy holidays to you. Yeah. This is you.
This is me. Jake writes, while it's more so an adaptation of the books, would you all consider covering the Witcher show on Adaptation Decay? Maybe multiple episodes for season 1 coverage.
Consider, yes. Probably not multiple episodes, because that show only comes out once a month. So doing multiple episodes, like if somebody is not into it or they're trying to avoid it, it's a bummer for them.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, it's one of the reasons why we don't do like novels on that show, is the hour of effort to output ratio. Right. So like a season of The Witcher 1 is 10 hours.
Yeah.
I think it's a 10 episode show. To get a 2-hour episode of Adaptation Decay out of that isn't a great ratio for us. Not to like be too business like about it, but we do a lot of shows, so we have to take stuff like that into account.
Yeah.
So consider, yes, but that's the reason we haven't done it yet.
Yeah. That said, I like season 1. Like it's a well done show. Yeah.
I'm curious about it. I just don't really watch TV unless it's for work.
Right.
In a general sense.
Yeah.
So, and maybe one more show question and then move on to lightning round, and then
Yeah, let's do.
yeah. We're recording multiple things this episode. So this is you. This is me.
Yes.
Doug, friend of the network, asks, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on how the way you have to chug through games for the network affects your opinions on pacing. I know how to approach things differently since my game time tends to be a half hour here and there, and you're at the other end of the bell curve. Do you think that skews the way you evaluate things? I try very hard to have it not.
Yeah.
People have charged me with that, have told me that it is affecting me. They're like, oh, this is just because you have to play it for the show. But I keep that stuff in mind.
Yeah.
So like Paradise Killer, once I learned more about it and dipped into it and realized what kind of game it was, I gave myself a lot of time to play that game.
Yeah.
Right. I and like Fallout 4, I was done with before we started recording.
Yes.
I don't want to speak for you. I'm sure you're mindful about it too. When I say I don't want to speak for you, I don't mean that like but I'm very mindful of that kind of thing. I do not want that to affect my evaluation. Maybe it does. Maybe that gets in anyway.
Oh, yeah.
I think that is just as likely. I don't think that it's, that you just think this because what it feels like, what the worst that people do it, and I don't think Doug is doing this, is as a way to dismiss.
Yeah.
Like I'll be like, oh, Okami has too slow paced an opening. And someone will be like, you just think that because you'd have to play it for the show.
No. I thought that back in 2006 when I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I can think something has a bad pace and it has nothing to do with doing it for the show.
Yeah.
Like you can't, again, not Doug, but, and it's not quite a straw man because people have like certainly done this, but it's not a way to just say like, oh, you think this thing I disagree with, it must not be valid because you're just playing it in this way.
Yeah.
Maybe you just disagree with me and that could be the end of it. You don't have to gerrymander me out of truth.
Right. Your review on your show is invalid because you reviewed it for a show. It's like, I don't know how to satisfy you if you're holding that against me, sir.
What are you doing listening to podcasts? Like, what do you, if that's your standard, like if you're that upset that somebody thought something that you thought was well paced is poorly paced, that they have to be like essentially like lying or fooling themselves.
Yeah.
That feels like a you problem. Again, it's kind of a straw man because I'm not talking to Doug, but also people legit said it.
Yep.
So I try really hard not to. And typically, like when you and we've definitely had parts where we come where like I beat this right under the wire. Like that happens sometimes. But I try at the very least really hard not to do that.
Yeah. I mean, and even if it does end up happening, because sometimes it does, I try and keep that, you keep it in mind and you correct for it. Right. And I think that, if there are pacing concerns, those pacing concerns would have been there. There's also, again, the distinction between, oh, you were playing this for a show or you were just playing it for yourself. Like the difference would be if I was just playing this for myself and I hit the things that I am complaining a lot about in a game, I wouldn't have finished it. I would have stopped and moved on to something else. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's that's the biggest difference, right?
And like I will play things that I have no pressure at all for. So like it was on sale and I was feeling like revisiting. So the remake of Chocobo Mystery Dungeon.
Yeah.
Showed up on Switch. And I was like, I feel like playing that again. I never, really went deep. There's like all the optional dungeon and stuff like that. And I like rogues. So I'll pick up that. A horrible pace in the beginning of that.
Yeah.
I'm not playing it. We already did it for the show. I have no time pressure at all. I'm just bored because it's just so like...
Because you're puttering around town talking to quirky people. Yeah.
Yeah, talking to the Paul F. Tompkins mayor and just all these people and just really hammering home yes, I know, the Bell of Oblivion. Everyone forgets. It's so creepy. Like, get off it. Pace yourself better, Square. You were bad at pacing video games.
Yep.
You forgot how to do it. And there's no pressure at all. I just don't, I don't think that's because I do games for work. I just think that my patience for ultra slow pacing has just gone down.
Yeah. Based on the games that we pick and the way things tend to work out, I try and like budget out time. Say like, okay, like assume 2 hours a day for playing games for assignment, right? A WoF game, can be anywhere between 5 hours and 25 hours for like a single episode, right?
Yeah.
Roughly. So that would work out to be around 2 hours per day. There are people who, if it's a matter of like a question of, oh, are you chugging this or not? And is that affecting it? I mean, there are people who play way more than that, actually. You know, there are people who play
Yes.
games, you know, like it is their job. For me, it's that, you know, for me, I play it as my job, but, you know, keeping it budgeted out. 2 hours per day feels about as normal as one could be if they were very enthusiastic about video games and not doing it for this. And so that, you know, that feels akin, you know, like I'm playing it like most people would.
Yeah. Yeah. It is very, again, Doug's not doing this. It is a very frustrating thing to me when someone tries to say, this opinion you have, you only have it because of X disqualifying thing.
Yeah.
You know, and some of that is burnout. Speaking like I could use this break, you know, of just you know, the break, a winter break is going to correspond with me taking a break from the internet, which is a break from people, you know, strangers on the internet telling me my opinion is wrong.
Yeah.
Which I'm looking forward to.
It's not just that your opinion is wrong. It's that you couldn't have possibly arrived at this opinion because of who you are and the way you live your life. You know, kind of the same thing with people who say, oh, you guys are just hating on Dark Souls 3 and Sekiro because you're somehow, it somehow benefits you. You know?
Yes.
When we just had a little research of that. Right. And it's like, no, I actually can come by this opinion, you know, by being a person who played this game. It's not that it is impossible. You know, it's not the children that are wrong, Seymour.
Yeah. It's a very irritating thing that people do.
Yep.
Yeah. And if you're hearing this and you're like, I kind of do that sometimes, stop. I assure you no one likes it.
Yeah.
It's not doing you any favors. Let's move on to the lightning round.
Let's do. Adam writes, what fictional novel worlds would you like to see adapted into video games? Dark Tower.
There you go. Answered one. I would like to see the Belgariad.
Oh, nice. I mean, that's just because it has your name in it.
That's exactly why. I would have said the Krondor books, but then they made Betrayal at Krondor, and it's good.
Nice.
So, Popo Foshosho asks, you can have a port of any game run perfectly on the Switch, but it must be a GBA enhanced edition. I would love a portable Dishonored that's on 25 e-reader cards, and Corvo screams Yahoo every time he blinks.
The Witcher 3.
Yeah, there you go. I would love to have that run perfectly on the Switch. That's anything where you can have those e-reader levels. You know, like a new Dishonored level is every time is a miracle.
Yeah.
Being able to load up cards to just load up a level would be awesome. That's a great answer, actually.
Yeah. Just going down to the gas station, buy yourself a booster pack of Dishonored levels.
Yeah. And you like mostly skins and you know, new kinds of knives and garbage like that.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I don't want it.
Soda Pop writes, little touches that you appreciate in games. I was playing Halo Infinite's campaign and realized that I could not see Chief's legs. Prior games had his legs show in first person. It's just one of those little touches that I like in games. Do you have a little touch that you enjoy in games?
I have it on the brain, and I'm only 85% sure this is true, but I think in Deus Ex, flies can set off infrared beams.
Ooh.
And that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And makes sense.
Yeah.
Real quick, the thing about showing people's legs, I don't think of that as a little touch. Like, I think that is a powerful, like, weird way that changes how you feel in the space.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like, games I can see my legs make me feel like my character is more clunky and present. As opposed to being a Tensor's floating disc with a gun sitting on it, which is how you play most first-person shooters.
Yeah.
And they lend themselves to different things. Like in the Thief games, like being able to see your legs was always a big deal.
Yeah.
Because you're present. You have this weight.
Yeah. Mirror's Edge, another one.
Yeah, Mirror's Edge.
Yeah.
How about you, Cole?
I mean, Kojima stuff. This is the thing that everybody talks about. You know, so that you get the ice cubes melting in Metal Gear Solid 2, etc. I think all of that is very nifty. For me, just here recently, because I've played a lot of this game because of Duckstream, and also because I fucking adore the game, Teardown. I love how as you do missions and your business starts doing better, your character starts like every time you wake up, your like warehouse where you live has been fixed up, so you're like, you know, building yourself a little apartment instead of just sleeping on a cot like in,
Nice.
in the catwalks, like your guy builds herself like a bathroom. And so, you just wake up. It doesn't affect the gameplay at all. It's just like, yeah, you are, it's a criminal business, but you're running it and benefiting.
That's sweet.
It's super cool. Yeah.
Yeah. The Tom says, what is the difference between a sphere and an orb? Can a lowly sphere rise to become an orb?
So, I mean, all orbs are spheres, but not all spheres are orbs, I would say. I think sphere is a descriptor. It is the Platonic ideal, like a basketball.
One's a shape.
Yes, one is a shape, right? So, like a basketball is an orb. A basketball is a sphere. Volleyball is a sphere. The sun, it bulges at the center a little because of gravity, but it is mostly a sphere. I think an orb is always a sphere, but an orb has to be, there's something where you know it when you see it, right?
I think if an orb doesn't have some kind of power or ability, it's not worthy of the term. Mm-hmm. Like if I have I bought a crystal ball from an incense store, it's not an orb.
Right.
Magic's not real. Orbs exist in fiction. Orbs are fake.
Yes.
Like orbs are basically Santa Claus or, Vorpal swords and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's why they own.
And we can pretend that our spheres are orbs, right? I've got a crystal ball that I bought back when we were back in the first wave of orb fever that hit the network, right? I always like those tacky like gazing orbs that are lawn ornament kind of deals,
Sure.
I will pretend that is an orb as I'm driving by, but I know in my heart that it's not an orb.
Yeah, it's fun to pretend. You know that you have to keep your crystal ball covered, right?
Oh, because they can see through it? People, no. It could be scried back through?
Because if the sun hits it, it'll burn down your house.
What?
Yeah, because it concentrates light. Like people have died from their houses burning down because of crystal balls. Because it refracts the light into a pinpoint and has set houses on fire.
Huh.
So you're supposed to keep your crystal ball covered.
Man, so my orb is on a bookshelf in a windowless corner of a very dark room, like my living room. There's no way that the sun could hit it except very, very indirectly. Do I need to cover it?
I mean, if I say no, and then your house burns down, don't put that on me, man. I'm not an expert. I just read a thing.
Cole would have survived if Gary hadn't told him.
Yeah, if only this is being played in a courtroom, in the future of due to the bad advice of the Cowgirl Butterfield. Mr. Ross's whole house burned down.
I just roll up in one of those Star Trek pods, talking and beeps with a foot lever. Yeah. Burn head to toe.
Yeah.
Just most of my skin grafted over with donated fingernails.
Gross. People have had their houses burned down from crystal balls, though.
Okay,
frequently.
I'll take that under advisement.
Yeah,
I will.
They call him the Widowmaker.
I will. I will examine my orb situation and assess my own risk.
Yeah, just be careful.
Yeah. Biff Tannen, thank you, Mr. President, for writing in, writes, invisibility or teleportation. You can only choose one. Which one and why? Teleportation and a walk.
Yeah. What is it? Is it limitless teleportation or Nightcrawler style line of sight teleportation?
Either would be good. Would be fun. Do the Dragon Ball Z instant transmission where you can always warp to a person, by sensing out their energy. Do the instant transmission kind of deal. That would be fun.
Well, then you have to have the power to sense energies as well.
Well, I mean, I would assume that it would that it would come with it. Yeah, I would take any of this. Invisibility is very limited to my mind.
I might take invisibility.
Ooh, okay.
And it is very limited, but I think that teleportation might make me queasy. And I think I could use invisibility to sneak into the bedrooms of despots and kill them. Like a familiar might.
So what we need is to team up. If my teleportation is transferable on touch, I can get you up to it, get you behind enemy lines, right?
Yep, a balcony, and then I just sneak in. And
yes, yeah.
And then, do you know what each other's favorite color is? The second question. I do not know what your favorite color is. My guess is going to be blue.
Yeah,
because that's a real classic boy. favorite color?
I mean, so like the Duckfeed indigo that we have is actually my favorite color. Weirdly enough, I like that the dark blue, purple, gray kind of thing that we have going on. But that's real specific, so I put that down to either blue or gray. If somebody asks me, I think yours is like orange. I think you like
my favorite color
colors.
is orange.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. And I think you may have. I think you may have said that in the past as well.
Yeah, I do love orange.
Yeah.
Ralph.
Yes.
Ask if you could pick one game to put on mobile platforms that doesn't exist on them already. What would you put on there?
That's tough because it would need to fit.
That's real tough.
It would need to fit on mobile, right?
Sure.
I mean, or you know,
I don't know.
It's if we're using the perennial example here, mobile Dishonored wouldn't be that good. You know what'd be fun? A mobile port of Gunpoint.
Oh, is there not one?
No.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Mobile heat signature would be fun as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say heat signature. Yeah. Those are both great answers.
No.
And then if Switch counts as mobile, like I would love a Dishonored collection on Switch just to replay it.
Oh, of course.
And I think it would, Dishonored wouldn't work very well on iOS, but it would work fine on Switch.
Yeah.
Presumably.
Presumptively.
Yes.
My ass. I know for a fact that you've answered this before, but what game would you never do for WoW simply because it would take over a great part of your life, becoming akin to a forever game and derailing the schedule forever?
There are things that would take up a long time for this to do.
Yeah.
There aren't a lot of things that I'm not very tempted by forever games right now.
Right.
Outside of my Isaac and my Monster Train, like the roguelikes I play now. And I would be, we did a kind of a roguelike heavy year, but I would be fine in the future doing other things like that on WAF as long as we're comfortable with them being book report or like half book report.
No.
So nothing, there are things that are too long, but they wouldn't become like forever games. So like it wouldn't make any sense for us to do Final Fantasy 14 because it apparently doesn't get good for 60 hours. And then it's too much content.
Yes.
But I'm not tempted by Final Fantasy 14. I don't think that would become a forever game for me because it doesn't look that interesting to me.
Yeah. City Skylines or RimWorld, I think would be two dangerous ones, or Prison Architect would be those for me. Yeah.
Yeah. But we could do Prison Architect. I would play it for 20 hours and you'd tell me the stuff I'm missing.
Man, beat stole my heart.
I don't think that would hurt us too much.
No.
So the ones that when we've answered before, it wasn't so much about things that would become tempting forever games. They would just be too long.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I can always it's easy enough to stop, right?
Yes.
It's satisfactory as well, but we did Stardew, and that was not for me a huge deal. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that was a fun episode.
Yeah.
Like, it's so easy for me to stop a video game now.
I know, right?
I don't, It's like, there's stuff that I'm really, like, again, I still play Isaac, I still play Monster Train right now. But if something happened and came along, I'd be okay moving on.
Yeah, but like Monster Train moved from a boil when we were working onto the episode to a simmer, right?
Yes. Yeah. I play like, I do the Let's Play series of it. I've been throwing up for people who are patrons. I've been throwing up Monster Train Mondays once a week. Monster Train Mondays every once in a while. Who knows what day that falls on? And then I'll play it in bed, 3 nights a week or something like that if I'm in the mood.
Yeah.
So
this lightning round is taking a long time.
This is a real slow lag this round.
Gabriel writes, Gary, do you like any other Garys? Gary Newman, Gary Oldman, etc. Cole, do you like any other Coles? I can't think of any other Coles, so you can have a favorite Ross, but I also don't think there's another Ross besides the store.
Is that Ross from the Friends show?
Yeah, but he's like the bad character. He's not a good character on Friends.
Is that he's the bad character?
Well, there are many bad characters.
Yeah, but this one is mine. I love Gary Newman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Gary Newman owns the first Two-Way Army album.
Mm-hmm.
That is basically wall-to-wall bangers.
Yeah.
So probably my favorite other Gary.
Yeah, Gary Newman is that is an enviable alternate Gary.
Yeah.
And
I have Gary Glitter to make up for it. It's like it is two sides of the same horrible coin. Like,
yeah, and I don't know any Coles or Rosses that I particularly care for.
no.
Yeah.
Jonathan, what video game level would you like to skate around in, a la Tony Hawk's Pro Skater? I'm just going to default to my earlier thing, either where I live now or my hometown.
Mm-hmm.
There is a Portland in Tony Hawk 1, but it's not really very Portland.
Yeah. Assassin's Creed 2. I want to
There
do
what video game level? I didn't read that part. Sorry.
Yeah. So,
Jindosh's Mansion.
Oh yeah. Ooh, that would be good. Yeah. No, Assassin's Creed 2, just to do a forever grind around the top of the Parthenon, or the Pantheon rather. That big open dome. Yeah.
Yep.
Douglas says, are there any games that you don't like simply because they're too popular? Conversely, are there any games that you over-defend because the discourse says that they're bad? Essentially, do you have any contrarian streaks running through you? No, I don't have any contrarian streaks. How dare you?
Of course we do.
Yes.
I don't dislike something just because it's popular, but I will side eye something if people sell it to me.
Yes.
Too much. It's the mid 2010s Netflix effect.
Yeah.
Of everyone telling me Stranger Things was incredible, where it's like a solid B.
Mm-hmm.
And me feeling that like most things that people sell to me, like they get some joy out of it and get very excited because it's hard to feel anything.
Yeah.
And then they oversell it as if it's an A plus just because they had an emotion around it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that happens a lot.
That's the closest. If something is especially, people are talking about it rapidly, I will oftentimes build in a delay to like get into it after it falls in the discourse.
Yes.
Just because it's fatiguing more than anything. Yeah.
And we'll engage with stuff that's with the discourse. If there's a long running conversation about a piece, like that kind of thing will come into the show.
Yeah.
So like I got irritated about the discourse around God of War 2018, like a game I don't like, I'm not in love with or anything like that, but the critical response around that from indie critic circles was irritating to me.
Yes.
So that was part of, my feelings on it.
Yeah. Final one here. Douglas says, I listened to Guppy and I don't play Isaac, or I played it for an hour once and didn't like it. Is there something wrong with me?
Yes to the first half, no to the second half. It's barely about that. It's just enough to make people upset.
Of course.
Let's talk about Duckstream a little bit. We can make this a little breezy.
Yeah.
Because we have miles to go before we sleep and we want that break.
Yeah. So
you realize we never really talked about this holistically.
Yeah.
On the show.
You proposed this and I said, that sounds nice. Did you want to talk about Duckstream in general, like as an event that we do, or did you want to talk about this one specifically?
Well, I meant to kind of in general.
Yeah. Okay.
Like origins of, like, we've done this in now the 8th year.
Mm-hmm.
We've done it origins, like how it's changed, what we have to do to prep, what like prep and recovery is like.
Yeah.
What kind of things to keep in mind, stuff like that.
Yeah. So yeah, origins. I know that we had just kind of early on, I think you initiated the conversation about wanting to do something to raise money, use the platform for good, right? And we went back and forth, and obviously because Transactive is based in Portland, you knew about them, but also it was a good fit. Like, what made you bring them forward as a candidate to help? I know why it works, but how did you find out about them?
So I wanted to do that one because it was in Gamergate times.
Yep.
And it was gamers were being gross.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't trying to defend the honor as a gamer. I just wanted to try to like balance scales a little bit. And then I knew about Transactive because I dated my ex-girlfriend, Sarah, was on the board of directors there. Mm-hmm. So that is how I found out about the cause. Yeah. And I went to, before we started doing anything for them, they would do silent auction events.
Yep.
And that is how I met Jen, who is the director, and it kind of all just went from there.
Yeah.
And it was a good match because we know them and we know what the money does, and we know, I trust where it's going.
Yes.
And that's a really big big part. And it's just like super easy now because we can just be like, hey, we're going to give you some money. And she's like, great. Cool. Yeah, cool. Later, bro. And then I'm like, yeah. Take care, Don.
That's that's the benefit of the long-term relationship, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
it's very casual.
Yeah. I think the first year we did, was it 2013 or 2014? Time is meaningless as always. No. But yeah, so I love doing it for Transactive, because it is an underserved area. Just a cause. Also, I think it's like a really good match for like the size of our audience. Like they're regional, right? We could do a streaming event to raise money for a large, do like St. Jude's or something like that. And it's not that money raised for them is to no good effect. Obviously, AGDQ does amazing work with them, and that's a good organization and stuff. But like, small to moderate sized audience and platform that we have, we can take that and make a relatively a much larger difference for a smaller, kind of more specific organization, right? So that feels, I think, just like it is, makes it an especially good match, right?
Yeah, we're a major line item on their budget.
Yes,
and that feels good. Just because we want to make a difference. The whole idea is to try to make a practical difference in the world. Not a symbolic difference, not like a back padding thing, but like how can this actually have impact?
Yeah, this will make a dent. Yeah.
Yes. And that regionalism, like seeing that stuff happen because it is a smaller group is awesome.
Yeah.
I had a senior project, like everyone has a senior capstone at PSU, and I did mine working with Transactive and spent some time there at the the brick and mortar place where it's at, meeting the staff and seeing some of the people who was helping. And it was super cool.
Yeah.
It feels good just to know that I'm having an impact. I have a bad brain that doesn't give me back pat feels from that kind of thing. But I do get a modicum of it just from seeing like actual practical.
Yes.
Being able to non-abstract it. It kind of separates it from feeling like, it makes it feel like a good thing to do rather than it would be a bad thing if I didn't.
Right.
Then that's a subtle distinction, but it's incredibly important in my horrible brain.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the first year we did it, I forget what year it was. I can probably do a search and see.
It's fine.
Yeah, we did move on. Get over it, Cole.
No need. No need to pin this down. It's okay. Just go.
But the first year that we did it, we only did 24 hours. We did 12 and 12. And that was a lot of fun. And I think we saw that as like a proof of concept more than anything is ultimately what that ended up being before we broke it out to 48.
Yes. And then up until forever, we did it as 224s, which people have seen, of course. And that nearly killed me. Like we talked to,
it was so talked about rough. That. Oh my God.
Yeah, it was incredibly rough. The last time we did that, the one in person before the pandemic, going home, like I vomited multiple times away home and couldn't sleep. And it was just like my legs were cramping from dehydration and not stretching them and just like weeping, trying to sleep, just felt like I was going to die.
Yeah.
Because there was an element, I think, of us doing that where something that has been a through line throughout the network is you and I not knowing how to sell things.
Yes.
So the masochism was part of it.
It was
the masochism was part of what we were selling.
Watch us unravel.
Yes.
When we hit the 13th hour on this bad boy. Yeah.
Yeah. And what that meant was like every single time we did it, I couldn't nap, but there'd be a part where I'd just be on camera laying down on a carpet, just staring.
Yeah.
Just absolutely miserable stuff. And there was some real joy that came out of that loopiness. I think that one of the things that you and I have gotten better about is trying to figure out balance.
Yeah,
within work. It's not work-life balance. It's work
fucking
balance.
Ruin ourselves. Yeah,
yeah, like realizing that like, oh, we don't have to debase ourselves. It's like when Charlie went to the high school reunion, and they're like, here, eat this dirt grub, and they're like, Charlie, you don't have to do that anymore. You don't have to sniff. You don't have to sniff what he gives you.
Yeah,
we're figuring that out.
Yeah. So, I mean, so one of the kind of the big differences here is geography, right? I, for a long time, lived in Cincinnati. I still live in Ohio. You have been in Portland this entire time, and with the exception of the pandemic year, everybody got together on the Portland side of things and had like the almost like the slumber party kind of vibe, where one person there wasn't just one person there responsible for everything. So if somebody needed to step out to eat a sandwich or to go grab a half hour nap or whatever, you kind of had that. Over on my side, like occasionally, like some people would come over when I lived closer to like Dennis or Ben or stuff like that. But it was 24 hours of me, with the exception of, when I got people, very gracious people like Allison or like Gwen or like Jeremy or, Dennis, to do relief shifts, because, being on and talking for that entire time by your lonesome for a lot of the 24 hours was the fucking pits, dude.
It's like the film Moon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was the particular difficulty over on my side.
It was hard. It was a difficult, physically and mentally and like honestly emotionally difficult thing to do. Even now, every single time we do it, like at some point I will end up feeling kind of sad. Not during it, but kind of like in the lead up and then afterwards, like a postpartum mixed with just being drained.
Yes.
Like most duck streams, I will cry at some point around them just from like exhaustion and being drained.
Yeah.
Even if it is a really, really good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Even if we're not by ourselves, just being like not battling our Pokemons, there's also 24 hours of banter is also really hard.
It's really hard to keep up. Yeah.
It's very hard to keep up, and it's very hard not to let exhaustion add an edge to things.
Yes.
Like I feel like most duck streams at some point I either worry that I've hurt someone's feelings or get my feelings hurt.
Yeah.
During it, just because it's like, oh, we can't have dead air, so we have to constantly be saying things. Was this the right thing to say? Too late now.
Yeah.
That kind of energy.
Yeah. So I mean, especially when you live alone and you're not interacting with people, it's a long time to be on and a long time to be sociable, even with your favorite people in the world. Right.
Yes.
That's
exactly it. Like,
it's not normal conditions for interacting with folks.
No. Yeah. And really abnormal for I would say the two of us who have introverted tendencies, right?
Yes.
Like most
or
of
our avatars of introversion.
Yeah, the most of all of the talking, I hang out with my girlfriend once a week. I do band practice and I do game night and I talk for work, and I'm fucking tapped.
Yep.
Like I will have a friend who will be like, "Hey, do you want to hang out?" And it'll be like, "No big deal." And I'm like, That sounds like I am at capacity. And so just a concentrated dose of that is extremely tough. And we're very lucky to be able to do this. I know I said I didn't want back padding, and now we're just kind of whining about how hard it is.
We're talking about the difficulties, and I think it's worth being honest about this because it's a part of the experience. Understand that we're talking in relative terms. It is momentary discomfort.
Yes.
That also has a lead up and cool down of discomfort around it.
Yeah, we're not being Requiem for a Dreamed,
right?
But it is, and also maybe people are interested in this because they don't know it. Yeah. Maybe it's behind the scenes. So afterwards, like after it's done, this last time and every time, I just go to sleep. I don't set an alarm. I go to sleep and sleep as long as my body wants me to.
Yep.
And then I do that for as many days as I can.
Yes.
To recover. And it's more than just like, since we did the 12s, it's not actually that bad in terms of like physical stress.
Yeah.
It is much more just kind of emotional and mental stress.
Yeah.
And I'm still sleepy from it. We're
Same.
recording this on Tuesday. I wrapped up on Sunday morning, and I'm still like feeling it a little bit.
Yeah, no, I mean, I didn't have a voice yesterday. Again, just from talking all of that time. And, like yesterday, I slept until 2 PM. Like I slept, like just that is how late I slept, even with just, the 2 12s. Right. And it felt great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The moment afterwards feels really good. Not just because it's good to like raise a bunch of money, but it just feels very good to like have it done with.
Yeah.
There's a lot of prep for it that happens. We will scrunch up our schedules. We do that for the holidays as well, but scrunch up our schedules and get ahead. So we've been recording a lot.
We have.
In the lead up. And there is like for the overnight crew, there's prep, at least for me, in terms of trying to adjust my sleep schedule. So I don't want to die.
Yeah.
And I used to stay up real late naturally, and now I kind of don't. I'm a real like 12 to 9 kind of guy.
Yeah.
Naturally. So now, trying to fix that and stuff. So there's a lot of flexing.
Yes.
That happens for it. And then that feeling of that muscle just being relaxed afterwards is huge.
Yeah.
On Monday afterwards, or Sunday rather, the only thing I did that was productive is I changed the needle out on my hi-fi.
Okay.
I bought a hi-fi from a guy who his wife was making him quote unquote clean out his man cave.
Okay.
And I didn't want to have this old gnarly needle like tear up my records.
Right.
So I got a new one, changed out the needle, and then just like sat in my rocking chair and like played Switch and listened to records.
Yeah.
All night. And I cannot remember a time I've been happier. I'm sure that there are times I've been happier than that, but just, I was so fucking happy.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm playing a video game. I'm not talking about it. I'm not keeping a commentary as to what's happening. I'm just kind of enjoying it just for Gary. This owned so hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. There's logistical prep as well. I mean, aside from the, the physical, mental prep that, and schedule, prep, but like, if you're planning, like, what am I going to eat during this time?
Yes.
Right. So like going and getting snacks that are going to be there, planning meals, cause it's not going to be delivery the entire time. Right.
Yeah.
So,
and technical stuff. I cannot express enough gratitude to Nick for kind of taking the lead on that every year.
Yeah.
Because if it were just up to me, like, it would be all of me and my friends all gathered around my computer webcam, and that'd be the extent of it.
Right.
That's all I would know how to do. Nick really outdid himself this year by having an elaborate setup where we could do Duck Throat Kitchen. We each had our own mic. It was very, very tons of work that to great effect.
Yes. And not just like building, building the setup, like miking things. And like over on my side, it's simpler because I'm not miking a whole couch, which is a fucking nightmare at the best of times, especially if you're just like, even if you're building like a dedicated, set or something, but adapting an actual living space to be, to look and sound good is ridiculous too. Over on my side, like getting things to work and lit there as well, pretty difficult. Had to call a major audible because my plan was to stream until dawn. That's a fun light game to do, and would have been a lot of fun. But my capture card for some reason just decided not to work, so I had to like pulling my hair out, going nuts, like being like, oh my gosh, I'm late. I'm not on the air. This is a fucking disaster. Then ultimately calling an audible and saying, all right, I'm going to play Amnesia. That's a game people love. I'm going to do that. And when I'm done, we're going to figure it out.
Yeah. And it was the other thing too, is that like there, similar to the 24 hours thing, there is a false urgency that we put on ourselves.
Yeah.
For this kind of thing, like where something like that doesn't work, and it's really easy to take that kind of thing very hard.
Yes.
And the truth of the matter is that we have an audience that is just like down for us to do, is supportive.
Yes.
Right. So like nobody was going to be upset that you didn't do until dawn. When we have had like technical stuff on our end or something didn't work out, nobody gets upset.
Yeah.
People are along for the ride.
Yeah.
In a general sense. And that's, very grateful for that. And that's generally, you can expand that lesson, I think, to crowd living in general.
Yeah.
Like subsisting on crowd things where it's like, if you make something that people like, they will support you for the thing you like. And a lot of these kind of bells and whistles are less important than people tend to think. So that's something that like is a lesson that, and I think I've gotten better about that in real like day-to-day podcasting life, but it still follows me to Duckstream is that feeling of like, I must self-flagellate because something didn't work. People are going to be pissed. I'm going to be in trouble. And then realize like, no, like actually everyone's chill.
Yep.
Yeah,
and by by reacting the way that I am, by being flustered or whatever, I am just adding unnecessary misery into the equation, and I get on the air.
You're probably stressing people out.
Yeah,
like for not just yourself, but people watching.
Yep.
And I'm not calling you out. I do it too.
Yeah.
Unnecessary. So, what else about Duckstream? It's cool. It's fun. I really like doing it.
I look forward to it for as much as it is an exertion. I do still look forward to it. And, there's always the moment, because like, we're relying on people's generosity to make the, to make the event that's kind of like an objective success. Are we meeting our goals and things like that? And we have been super lucky that the audience has been as generous as they are, to where we've never like had to walk away from it with our tail between our legs. Everybody comes through, which is amazing. And also like the actual like chat atmosphere is really good. I can kind of count on, I don't even max out two hands, counting the instances of people being jerks where we had to like do something about it, Yeah.
It's very rare.
Yes.
Like it's only happened a couple of times, which we're like, part of that is just because we're not huge, in terms of a community. And then part of it is also because we're incredibly lucky.
Yes.
Yeah. So like, and getting bigger and having that problem would be a good thing. Where we like deputize somebody, like maybe we call on Jeremy or Allison or our friends and people who want to help out to like mod the chat.
Yeah.
That might end up being a thing in the future. But also if we stay at this cruising altitude, I'm happy as well.
Yeah. Like it does, we don't need to, it doesn't need to be bigger.
Yeah.
I am happy.
Yeah.
The benefit
not because I don't
of
want to raise more money for the cause, but
exactly. Yeah. I don't
purely
feel
for personal reasons.
Yes. I do not feel any kind of like inferiority for the level that we're at. But like the actual environment in the chat is always really good. Something that is funny every year, especially if I go after you. So like if I was the second shift when we were doing 224s, or this time is there's stuff that goes on your side that becomes like its own 24-hour meme that then bleeds over into my chat. And I have to do like, whip out my Obra Dinn stopwatch or pocket clock or whatever and like try and put it together.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck are these people talking about?
It's an incubator for that kind of shit. It's one of the coolest things it does is make these little inside bits.
It's like Burning Man.
Are
it's
short-lived.
Like, it's Burning Man. It's a society that lasts for a weekend and then is raised and then pulled down. Nothing left but desert.
It's absolutely. Also, if you don't watch, if people just do VOD or whatever. We did it for the first time this year, and it was a big hit. So we're going to do it in the future. But we did. People could donate to have us do karaoke songs.
Ooh.
Which won't go out on VOD for obvious reasons. But there's a lot that came out of that. I watched Will sing. I think 4, like literally 4, but it felt like 10 songs from Hamilton. And it just if you don't know that musical. It's a rap musical about the founding fathers. And it's all Will. It sounds like him angrily quitting a job, but his job is to write essays for the Continental Congress. Every song is just him just being super mad about essays and shit. It's really, really bad. It was excruciating. but it was for charity.
Yeah.
And it is a once in a life, like there's an ephemeralness to the whole event, but there's a specific ephemeralness to some of the aspects of it that I think are really kind of beautiful.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And good, and all good things have endings, all good things don't last.
But it just existing, stepping in, kind of sitting down after you guys get up and feeling that the seat's warm.
Yes.
And everybody just like, I'd like, hey guys, I didn't watch that. I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
Yep. It is, it's interesting to other like different crews in the chat. Like I will pop on and say hi during your stream, and it's a totally different group of people, either for preference or because of ours.
Yeah.
But you'll end up with these kind of like tiny societies as well. A little kind of function, like two separate little towns or communities, like two separate little Burning Mans.
Yeah.
Will appear.
Something that I miss is so back when I lived in an apartment, and specifically before I had cats, we would set up. I would do a thing where like every 500 or every certain number of dollars, I would fire off a confetti cannon inside my house. You do one of those little poppers. Yes.
Right? Okay.
Well, I mean, like
confetti cannon is a pretty big overstatement for what that thing is.
Well, no. I would eventually work up. So like I would do small poppers, right? But then I would get like 12 or 14-inch ones and start firing those off as well.
Okay.
So like if not confetti cannon, confetti hand cannon.
Confetti handgun.
Yeah. Right.
I'll give you a confetti 9mm.
Right. But like, I'm a pretty neat guy. Okay. And so like firing that off and, just over the course of the weekend, having my apartment turn into the set from a fucking OK Go video.
Or
over
from
the course of
the film Go.
Yeah.
Like a sad rave.
Yep. Just over the course of it. It was always fun, like, getting up and seeing the empty portion on the couch where no confetti hit because that's where I was, or firing without realizing that firing without covering my food.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. All of that, or like moving my furniture and vacuuming and finding confetti from 2 years previous that I didn't get. That was all good. And you can't really do that when you have cats because I don't want them to like get into it and eat it. Yeah,
or just be scared every.
Yes. Yeah.
You don't want to create an artificial 4th of July at them.
No. So I replaced the confetti with the cat cams and given them treats. So.
The positive version.
Yeah.
So it was real fun. Thanks everybody for donating this year.
Yeah.
Especially our anonymous mega donor.
Yes.
We really appreciate it, and we're really grateful to people listening to this who presumably have a big overlap with the people who allow us to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Would like to echo the gratitude. It is a wonderful thing to be a part of.
I would like to echo the dolphin. Let's read some responses.
Let's do. I'll get us started. These are all about Fallout 4 or the expansions. Sam writes, I thought it was safe to leave the power armor I got at the beginning of the game on the armor dock in Sanctuary Hills. 10 hours later, that power armor now belongs to Trashcan Carla, apparently. I might put another 100 hours into this game, but I don't think I'll experience anything more Bethesda than that.
I had tons of power armors just hanging around that zone, and nobody ever took it. I read that this could happen, but nobody ever did it for me.
Most of the people would get out of it. And if they're a companion, it's kind of frustrating because you have to ask them to follow you and then talk to them and ask them to get out of the power armor. If it's just a settler, though, they should get out of it after the combat ends. But that is a new development. I think that maybe if Sam played it a while ago, that hadn't been patched in.
Yeah. It's and who knows what they were doing while I was gone. Like I imagine they were joyriding in it, but
yeah, it's the car in Ferris Bueller,
Exactly. Kevin says via contact, I'm not sure how many other people who play games along with you ran into this, but I found a wonderful bug that at first glance caused my brain to start screaming that my computer was dying. If you load the game on a graphics card running at 120 FPS rather than the capped 60 FPS the game is designed for, all the models in the game will run at twice the speed, with the vocals still running on normal time. This is probably my personal best experience with unintentional horror in games so far.
Just reminds me of the videos people put out of Resident Evil 2 cutscenes, but like maxing out like the weird like animation vertexes over the course of a cutscene, so they turn into these big flappy faced monsters with a huge mouths that move. Yeah,
yay,
yeah. Jake writes via contact saying Far Harbor was a DLC that I kind of skimmed through at the time of release. Thank you for spotlighting it and giving me another reason to check it out. This time I really enjoyed the character of Dima, even if he is Charles Xavier 2.0. A well-intentioned peacemaker who has done some heinous things to maintain that peace. The 2.0 comes in with the fact that he has not only mind-wiped others, but he mind-wipes himself too. I'm writing this in before the episode airs, so there's like a 90% chance that Gary already made this joke in the episode. I don't recall you explicitly making the joke, but you could have made a reference to it, Gary.
I might have said something with Charles Xavier, but I don't think I said 2.0.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good call. He is very Professor X.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mr. Reciprocity says via contact, Hey guys, I just started the first Fallout 4 episode, and as someone who moved to Massachusetts over a decade ago, I think I can clear up some of your linguistic confusion. Folks here in Mass, especially in the eastern half of the state, have a lot of idiosyncratic pronunciations. Quincy is Quincy, Woburn is Woburn, Peabody is Peabody. To the visitor or recent immigrant, these linguistic quirks may seem arbitrary, but once you spend some time here, the underlying logic of it all becomes clear. People from Massachusetts are fucking weird.
That does
sound like the underlying logic.
That does, and I'm throwing stones from a glass house when I make fun of Quincy, because here in Ohio we have a town called Lima. It's spelled Lima, but we say it like lima beans. We have a town called it's spelled Bellefontaine, but it's pronounced Bellefountain.
That's horrible.
Yeah, we have a town that is Russia. How would you pronounce that, Gary?
Russia.
Mm-hmm.
I might say Russia.
No, you clod. It's Russia. Rushi. Yeah.
Yeah. All that stuff sucks.
Palace at Versailles. Palace at Versailles, Gary? No. In Ohio, that town is called Versailles. That's fucking nuts.
Yeah, that's disgusting. How did you people make it to this century? What are you guys doing?
No, it's not Worcester, Gary. It's Worcester. All right.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. I would like things if everything was pronounced just how it looks.
Yeah, I agree.
I would change all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Illinois. Yeah. Who cares? Stop pronouncing things. Pronunciation's evil. Just sound it out.
Pronunciation is counter-revolutionary.
Yeah, it's not praxis.
Levi writes via contact saying, I played Fallout 4 as the female protagonist. I remember telling my wife as I entered the Institute that if I was right and my son was in charge, I was going to kill him. I said I brought him into the world, and if he had become a monster, I had the right to take him out of it. I killed, quote, father as soon as I had the chance, and unless I missed something, after easily 30 minutes of looking for a way out, I was soft locked inside the suite of rooms with fake Sean and had to load an earlier save. I had played the whole game shaking my fist at the screen every time my character said something stupid about trying to find her baby. This annoyance started immediately in the conversation with Codsworth, and by the time I got to the Institute, I was ready to kill Sean as a stand-in for all the bad writing I had endured.
You could call that a soft lock, but you could call it just a new life you get to start. In that little zone with that kid.
In a cell with your robot son who has been deactivated.
Yeah. Just deactivated robot son.
Yeah.
Deactivated robot roommate. Matthew says via contact, as a native to the Boston area, you can imagine the joy I felt when I found out that Fallout 4 was to be set in my neighborhood. There's something magical about wandering through an interpretation of a place you're familiar with. Much of my most anticipated landmarks were roughly around where I expected them to be, with some geographical compression. One that surprised me was the Saugus Ironworks, which is a quaint 18th century village-like historical site in real life, but a greatly exaggerated iron factory in the game. We would be here all day if I went through every place that surprised me like this, so I'll just leave you with this one example. Quincy is pronounced Quincy. Nahant is pronounced Nahant. The same picture to me.
Nahant or non. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And we don't talk about Rivia.
Yeah. Also, you mispronounced it. It's not Saugus. It's Sogu. I've got no fucking idea.
It's Saugus.
Saugus. Yeah.
Yep.
No, I'm envious of people who get to walk around in versions of the place where they live, because they live in a place that rates being made into a video game location. It's one of the reasons I like over break. I'll probably download and fire up Fallout 76, because I'm not like from West Virginia, but I've spent a good amount of time there and I've lived in the region. I want to see the Appalachian region done in that engine, because I would like recognize it. Yeah,
that shit's fun.
Yep. Let's see. Stuart writes via contact saying, "This is my depression game. I've probably played through it 5 or 6 times. The last time I tried to do a new build all about VATs and criticals. I took perks in agility and luck, used special guns that refilled AP on crits. Even with all of that, I found it was just better to be a sneaky rifleman. Oh well. Also, it was cool to see Fahrenheit hanging out with Hancock, because she had the name and general look of my canon character from Fallout 3.
Yeah, we talked about this a lot in the episodes, but Fallout 4 really does kind of funnel you down a build highway.
Yeah.
There's not really different builds.
Yes.
In it. There only kind of are.
2 responses from here. We've got somebody countering that with their own kind of example, but I generally agree with our initial read on the perk system.
I've only played it 3 times.
Right.
So I've only put in a few hundred hours into it. I don't know.
You kind of don't have any like position to say, kind of weird that you're just presuming that you can offer a good, like it's some kind of criticism. It's weird.
Yeah. Eli says via contact, "The last voyage of the USS Constitution is emblematic of how terrible Bethesda is at writing stories in the most outlandish and ludicrous way possible. It does not even need to be said that in the conflict between some humans just trying to get by versus a ship full of insane old-timey robots, that the moral choice is to help the humans. But crazy robots on an old-timey ship, right? How can you not see their quest through to the end? And the humans are literally just called scavengers. Easiest morally heinous choice I've made in a video game. P.S. Did either of you have Deacon along for this quest? He basically acts as a player stand-in, just happy to see what dumb thing will happen next, and you get a huge reputation gain by just watching the big boat take to the sky."
Yeah.
I mean, they're evil scavengers.
Yeah.
You find out they're jerks.
Yeah.
I don't know. It is, I mean, you're right. It's also, again, though, I think the game works best at its most fun if you play it as Johnny Why Not.
Yes.
With that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I care more about humans, but they're also right across the street from Good Neighbor. Just go live.
Yeah, just go live in Good Neighbor. There's a society there. Yeah.
Yeah, there's society around, like, dipshits. Mm-hmm. I hate those scavengers so much. Fucking scabs.
Yeah, I mean,
they're all dead.
It would be interesting to see the same basic premise written to make the scavengers the obvious choice, But as it stands, like, and also like it fits in so well with so many other quests that I've done, where like I do my role that I gleefully fulfill is the enabler of delusions.
Yeah.
And just, so much of Fallout 4 is weirdly about letting people live in a recreation of the past. And the USS Constitution just kind of fits right into that.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. Moving on here to Joey, who says via contact, "I just wanted to offer a quick defense of the perk system in Fallout 4 and why it really worked for me. I love how you can spec into a build and dive right into the higher tier perks right from the start of the game. You don't have to wait until you hit X level to choose X perk like other games in the series. There are several incredible high tier perks that let you start borderline breaking the game as early as level 2 or 3. The example that resonates most with me is Blitz. I don't know if you messed around with melee at all, but this perk basically turns you into Ciri from The Witcher 3, teleporting around rooms and slicing enemies to bits using VATS. Once you create a build around it, you can teleport around the battlefield, killing 5+ enemies in one VATS use. It's incredibly satisfying to choose several enemies in VATS, watch your melee attacks play out, and then see all of the bodies hit the floor because you let them when you come out of it. It's worth a look on YouTube if you haven't seen it in action, and I think it's one of the coolest things that Bethesda has come up with. The luck perks let you do incredibly fun things with the new crit system early on as well. I just feel like a lot of the perks are more geared toward exploration and scavenging and combat, just like the game itself, and many of them synergize with other perks and the legendary weapon/armor attributes in ways that really let you dominate combat situations.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Blitz. Blitz increases the range in which you can do melee attacks in VATS. Mm-hmm. So you'll dash a little bit further. I don't... this felt more gated to me than other ones. Like, yes, if you had the stats, like if you somehow had a character with 10 strength, you could take the level 10 perk.
Yeah.
A lot of stats, though, had level gates within their individual levels that made it feel limited to me.
Yeah.
So, like, for example, you couldn't make somebody who was really good at picking locks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it just wasn't available. You could make somebody who could pick shitty locks.
Yeah.
And then you had to wait for a certain level cap to be able to be slightly better at it, and then another level cap to be slightly better at it. And that's how it felt like a lot of the perks worked to me.
Yes. Felt like you could technically get the first level of the perk, but the real gold, or the thing that would like make it broken feeling, was hidden 1 or 2 ranks up, and those were gated behind levels as well.
Yeah. Well, and the fact that I agree that the perk system is geared towards exploration and scavenging, but a lot of those felt mandatory in a way that I wasn't experimenting with the more bonkers perks until, because I had those on my task mask. Mm-hmm. So like being able to keep up with the lockpick and hacking ecology and the like weapon and armor modification stuff to stay competitive in my gear meant I didn't have points to spend on other stuff.
Yeah.
So maybe I didn't need to keep up with that stuff, but it really felt like I did.
Yeah.
It felt like the biggest upgrade I could make to my character, rather than choosing like critical banker or something like that, was always going to be the next level of gun nut, because I could then mod my gun to do more damage. Mm-hmm. Which was like, really felt like the most important thing at the end of the day.
Oh yeah. Especially to keep up with the curve of enemies getting more durable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, so yeah, was not my experience, but I am glad that it worked out for Joey.
Mm-hmm.
No. Moving on to Jack here. Jack says via contact: knowing how the story progressed in Fallout 4, I decided immediately that the Brotherhood had to go. But I wanted to play nice with them, since Maxon's battle coat is one of the coolest looking and best ballistic weave armors in the game. When the Pridwen finally did show up and Dance excitedly invited me up to it, I knew that was my chance. I geared up in power armor and a fat man and took the vertibird ride up. It used me to no end to hear all about the Brotherhood's plans to save the Commonwealth, knowing full well that I was going to be blowing them up. The roleplay of my character going, that's nice, as they loaded a mini nuke into their fat man, was super funny to me. When you first get to the Pridwen as a recruit, you have to talk to a sergeant to get your orders. I don't know if this is on purpose, but at the end of his dialogue tree, you can just repeatedly ask him what your orders are. After 5 minutes of repeatedly asking and interrupting to ask for my orders, I made my way to Maxon. I gave myself some clearance. Not even 2 lines into his speech, he was looking at the other side of a mushroom cloud. The preceding fight with the Brotherhood was the most fun I've had with the game, even if the rest of the world didn't react to my assassination and ended up bugging out endgame quests.
Bethesda.
Yeah, there's a rich and storied tradition of taking on the Brotherhood in Fallout games.
Yeah. I love this. I love just working your way in, not for like any real like moral reason, but I gotta get that jacket.
Yeah, it's a good jacket.
It's a good jacket. Yeah.
Good jacket. Hard to find.
Oh man. Thank you for sharing that story. Colton writes the contact saying, since you enjoyed the settlement building part of Fallout 4, I wanted to share my build ideas with you all. My first creation was a monster arena at the drive-in settlement. I enclosed the entire parking lot area with high walls. Next, I set up multiple creature traps that would randomly spawn raiders, mercenaries, Mirelurk schools, deathclaws, etc. I hooked up a giant electrical grid. Each category of creature had its own switch that would release the trapped fighters. I also wired up a master switch to release all of the creatures at once. Finally, I set up a viewing platform atop the giant screen to roleplay as Caesar, watching as gladiators. Sorry, this is Fallout Kaiser, watching as gladiators. Another really fun build was converting the fort into Foucault's Panopticon. In short, I sealed off the broken walls of the fort to form a somewhat continual round wall. I built tiny shacks along the walls. Farms and water stations were set up at the bottom layer, and scavengers and other jobs were set up on the higher levels. There is no way for a settler to leave their tiny prison home. As the cherry on top of the prison, I built myself a tower manor in the middle of the fort, with enough openings to look out upon the employees.
That's great.
Yeah. We also had, there was another person whose response I ended up cutting for time, but they described how they inadvertently became Amazon by building up all of these kind of like factory farm kind of places, and then replacing all of the workers with robots when Automatron came around. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
just like just intentionally picking the most dangerous like supply routes for the runners to take, stuff like that.
That's great.
Yeah.
Not allowing anyone to piss.
Senpai.
Yeah. Yeah. The dirty water object in Fallout 4, that like milk carton that's been reused for water and just has a piece of masking tape that says dirty.
Yep.
They're like, on it. Like,
I love how sad it is.
It's very sad.
Yeah.
Necronomicon says via contact, I've been a resident of Massachusetts all my life. When I was young, my father worked in the State House and would ominously refer to the rules and restrictions of the Commonwealth. One of my friends is a descendant of the official state hero of Massachusetts, a very angry senior citizen who ambushed some British soldiers that strayed too close to his farm.
This was in 1934.
Ooh, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Sorry.
I started rewatching Nathan for You. And the part where the first episode, John Benjamin's teaching him the job interview things. He's like, yeah, my mom died in the war, the Iraq war. She worked under Saddam Hussein. It's very funny.
God, I love that show.
I was beyond ready for Fallout 4. I ended up having a lot of problems with the dialogue and story, but I'm going to be the guy that goes to bat for the Minutemen. I thought that base building was one of the most interesting new mechanics in Fallout 4 and served as the backbone of building up my ragtag civilization of farmers. I also really like that becoming the general subverts Bethesda's trick. It always felt unfulfilling to me when picking 5 pockets and doing 2 breaking and enterings, you got promoted to CEO of the Thieves Guild. So the idea of being general of a betrayed and destroyed 2-man army made me smile. Lastly, I think my Blue State 2016 brain really affected how fondly I remember the Minutemen. Imagine a group of good people from my home who rejected the inhumanity of others and welcomed folks of all kind. A group who, together with Laser Musket and Mute Fruit, stood against techno-fascists and plunderers and said, in the fashion of our state hero so long ago, we are the Commonwealth, get off our damn lawn. Now that's escapism. As a fellow man out of time, I thought I should let you know that the real Salem has no death claws, but does in fact have a statue of Samantha Stevens from Bewitched.
The main character of my favorite show.
Yeah, Cole, Cole's reason for being. Mm-hmm. Bewitched. Yeah.
Nice. That does not diminish my desire to visit Salem.
Oh, no. I look at a statue.
Yeah. Whenever we went to Milwaukee, it was always fun to go by the bronze fawns down by the Riverwalk.
Yeah. It's tiny. It's life size.
Yep.
Microphones.
Now that's an NFT that I can get into.
Non-fonzable.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Rose says via contact, when I played Fallout 4 as a young man in 2015, I fully bought into the Railroad. Their, quote, badass, quote, vibe, fight the system vibes got to me. Playing Fallout 4 in 2021 as an older woman, I am much more into the it's good to be good Minutemen. Something about crafting a big mutual aid network across the Commonwealth gripped me, having grown from the past 6 years of American politics and decay. Honestly, it made me crave for a game about setting up mutual aid networks and community building, which Fallout 4 only scratched the surface of unintentionally. Unrelated, Codsworth saying my new name, Rose, aloud during gameplay provided me some nice gender euphoria. Kept the trans ally robot with me the whole time this run. Thank you for all that you two do, and for all that you two and the rest of the Duckfeed team do to keep the network inclusive to transgender folks. Thank you.
Codsworth says trans rights.
Yep.
Yeah, he's a bro and an ally and a comrade.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's great.
Nice.
That is super good to hear. That so in the Slack we talked a lot about just because we have large trans community, and I've talked the idea of being able to make a character and that having an impact to trans games players much stronger than mine is really interesting.
Yeah,
and something that I've always when I realized that unlocked a lot of my understanding.
Yeah,
with games that seem to be very popular. That I was just like, oh, like this, isn't that exciting to me? I'd rather play Witcher 3 because it has a bespoke character, and that not going as far.
Yeah. When
part of the appeal is making a version, resonates more with making a version of yourself.
Yes.
In the game.
And that's something where, like, even if something like Mass Effect or, Dragon Age tends to, suffer somewhat in the design and our, and our evaluation of them, like those were still incredibly valuable for, specific groups of people in, being able to model and live in a game as some, as someone, So that even outside of like the quest design and stuff like that, the actual nuts and bolts of it, that providing that opportunity for people is a it's an inarguable good.
Yeah, very valuable, and it's cool to see.
Yes.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. Jake writes via contact saying, I wanted to write in to give some perspective on the survival mode. Generally, Bethesda games, I will play through once on normal, but then my subsequent playthroughs are all survival. I find the deadlier combat helps get around some of the issues that I run into with Bethesda combat at high levels. As long as you keep your weapons upgraded, both you and the enemies die in just a few shots. The only time you run into bags of hit points are the big, terrifying bosses. Additionally, the food, drink, and sleep requirements make scavenging more rewarding and necessary than in the base game. Having fast travel disabled means and forces you to more carefully consider how you pack provisions, especially for longer quests where you might be away from base for several days. The balancing act between supplies, ammo, and loot that you pick up scratches the same itch as Darkest Dungeon.
Yeah, I like one of the things I like about the survival mode of Fallout 4, even though I haven't spent very much time with it, is that everyone does double damage.
Yes.
It's not just, the enemies.
Yeah.
I think that's really smart.
Mm-hmm. No.
Just combat being deadlier in general is something I can get behind.
Yeah. Shorter, more tense, higher stakes combat is a good and cool thing. And everything that Jake laid out was why I enjoyed the survival mode in New Vegas. Like bringing more meaning to the scavenging is a huge deal. Part of the reason why I felt less desire to dip into that for Fallout 4, aside from the fact that I was playing it for a show and like fast travel is necessary to cover the distance that I need to in the time that I do, is that like they found a way to make scavenging super necessary and satisfying even outside of that mode. So it's cool that it just kind of the survival mode doubles down on that. Yeah, enhances as opposed to cool. Like just adding scavenging and making it bare bones necessary like it would in previous ones. Yeah.
Fallout 4 is also very long.
True.
To have a survival mode experience, like if you're just playing it to play, like sure. If you're trying to get through the game though, doing it in survival mode, just it feels like it would tack on like double the length. of the game, like having to sleep and not being able to fast travel and everything. And that was just not going to be tenable, obviously, for the show, but even just kind of in general. Like, I don't know if I had a 300-hour Fallout 4 playthrough in me.
It seems like it would be fatiguing.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
Ross says via contact, it's neither here nor there, but I rarely play DLCs, even for games I really enjoy. Hearing that Far Harbor would be this month's premium episode, however, convinced me to dip back in. Between not having played Fallout 4 for many years and your mention about the Far Harbor's general plotline, I decided to age the appearance of my character and to play it as if it were many years after the conclusion of the main quest line. As such, it's been very enjoyable revisiting old characters and getting the band back together, with many combat encounters feeling akin to the courtroom scene in Ghostbusters 2. Good pull. Yeah. I was never able to keep up with and meaningfully participate in the Slack, so I want to mention how much I value Duckfeed and to thank you for all that you do. Thank you, Ross.
Thank you, Ross.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for the support.
Sorry for me things I said about Rosses in general in the first part of the episode.
Yeah, you're his favorite Ross.
I'm really happy. One of the common things that we heard when we announced Fallout 4 was people saying, hey, I want to give this a second chance, or getting back into it. And then also now knowing how badass Far Harbor is, the number of people who picked it back up to play Far Harbor and see it. This has been a big, a good month for people participating along with the show.
We did Minerva's Den.
Yeah.
I like making people play good DLCs.
It's easy to skip over them, especially if you didn't care for the base game. Although BioShock 2, come on, love the base game. Base game's good. Come on. We're going to round out here with Gwillem. It's a longer response, but I enjoyed it. Gwillem says via contact, supposedly I'd played Fallout 4 for 120 hours. All I could remember is there was a trenchcoat robot, and people had really strong opinions about synths, Mini Voog versus ARP, and so on. Is that ARP or ARP, Gary? ARP. Okay. Revisiting it. Moog, sorry, Mini Moog. I know that one. I should know better. Revisiting it, I can see why nothing stuck. It's just a bit dull. But I at least managed to finally put a finger on the vibe that I get from it and from Bethesda in general. That vibe is Nathan for you. Honestly, I think this observation is intuitive and self-explanatory, but I will show my working. Obviously, there's the unrelenting monotone, but that's just surface level. It runs deeper. There's a very particular, carefully honed brand of tone deafness to Nathan's suggestions. They're never strong ideas, and they're never passionate ideas, but they do bear at least some resemblance to actual business advice. There's usually a recognizable kernel of agreed best practice somewhere in there. It's just surrounded by surreal nonsense. But because the nonsense is delivered with the same unwavering sobriety as the kernel of truth, everything gets swept away in the same flood of detached absurdity, and the whole process winds up coming across as a kind of ritualized satire. And that is how exploring a dead man's memories came to be the most boring thing that has ever happened in a video game. You see, it follows. On paper, the Mindscape is a good well for video games to go to. It's an overdone idea at this point, but it's also Psychonauts, so it shouldn't be a death march. That's the recognizable kernel. But the detached Bethesda style is just so all-encompassing that the results are almost performative in their awkwardness. A weird ritualized stage play with mannequins so pointedly lifeless that it all comes across like some kind of satirical sketch. What if Bethesda made Hearts of Stone? 67 views. They even made it dull to watch. They made it dull to walk over the big squishy synapses that sprout and grow from the eternal void. And honestly, I don't know if you're allowed to do that. It truly is a towering achievement in the field of unflavored for me. And though it's just one scene, it's representative. When that scene is long and boring, of course, the rest of the game is. What choice would it have? But I did like the trenchcoat robot. Make your robotic Bethesda NPC an actual robot, and I'll forgive them for anything. A flesh human staring at me with their as they flatly read their script will always ring hollow. But I'm told it's a robot doing it. That's amazing. I'm sold. Of course, he doesn't have facial expressions. It's not even a face. It's a fabric cover over cogs, and it's amazing. Shitty robots and everything from now on, please.
Yeah, I do not. Was talking to Gwillem in the Slack. I don't find the deliveries in Fallout 4 this egregious at all.
Yeah.
It is a powerful moment of alienation with them.
Yeah.
Because like, it's like, yeah, that part is not great, you know, but it would never, like, I wasn't like, oh, this is a death march. Like I got the impression that just like, immediately someone said anything, it was just like, oh my God, ugh, you know, from this. And I just didn't have that experience.
Yeah. No.
I don't know how else to explain it. It doesn't strike me as being that egregiously bad.
I think that just, we often call it like a cilantro thing. I think there's, something akin to maybe misophonia, just like the wildly different sensitivities. Right.
Yeah. It didn't feel like we were playing the same game.
Yeah.
It's not delightful sparking dialogue or anything like that, but it just didn't feel that, like, when I think about, just kind of bread and butter games we do for the show.
Yeah.
Like I think about, like, Singularity is one of those like very average games, right? Like I liked that game quite a bit, but it's a video game.
Yes.
The deliveries of that didn't seem appreciably that different than this.
Same.
It's the same picture to me. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's just real weird. I'm glad I'm not as off put by it.
Yeah.
Because I would have had less fun. Yeah, it just didn't bug me that much.
I was just entertained by the Nathan For You comparison.
Yeah, I don't think I get it.
Yeah.
It didn't seem that flat to me, nor that much of a failure.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have him selling ESL business owners on things and wasting their time. Yeah. Which is the weird reverse asterisk on Nathan For You that makes me feel a little queasy on rewatch.
A little bit. That
like it's a good show. It's kind of mean and awful a little bit.
Yeah.
Like it's funny, but it's mean to real people.
True.
It's not mean like, review is. So yeah. And nobody's getting hurt. Fallout 4.
True enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. There were a lot more responses. And some of these I truncated down. Thank you everybody for writing in.
We appreciate
Sorry if yours didn't end up making it in, because lots of folks did.
If you have anything to say about January's games, which are Super Mario Bros. 3, Dark Messiah of Might and Magic, or The Sinking City, please write into Duckfeed.tv/contact by January 15th.
Yeah. And if you have things to say about February's games, do the same by February 15th. And February's games are Professor Layton and the Curious Village.
Yes, and before we'll figure it out. Like, how are you guys gonna do that? We'll figure it out.
Yeah, just
don't worry.
Describe the whole trip to the Cracker Barrel. From walking in through the store.
We're not going to describe. It's similar to The Witness. We're not going to describe individual puzzles. That's the line I'm drawing in the sand. Standout puzzles or specific like little puzzle modes I want to talk about. If we get to the point where we're talking about the mechanics of solving a puzzle, I think we have failed.
Yes,
as podcasters.
Yeah,
so
that would make us ignore mooses.
Yes, I'm drawing the line in the sand now. After that, a game neither of us have any experience with, but I'm excited to visit, Warhammer Dark Omen.
Yes, this is I think it's a 1998 or sometime around there PC real-time strategy game. And Gary, I have no history or catalog with Warhammer, either fantasy flavor or space fascist flavor. So
me either. So this is either going to be a recipe for us like discovering something cool or people yelling at us because we like it wrong.
Yeah. So you don't like those old timey bikes, huh?
Yeah, that's probably going to happen. These are both of those are a patron request. It'd be very weird for us never to have played Warhammer and just be like, you know what? I'm feeling Warhammer Dark Omen.
Yeah, I'm also feeling like they made lots of strategy games. Earlier somebody talked about Dawn of War. No, let's go back to 1998. Why don't we?
Yeah, let's use the 19. Yeah, let's use that one. And then finally, because of our moving picks around, I have 2 picks in a row. So I picked Super Mario Bros. 3, and then my pick for February is State of Decay.
Yes.
A game I've wanted to talk about for a long time.
Game rules
on the show. Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, it's one of my favorite zombie games.
Yeah, it's got big Fallout 4 vibes. You are doing missions and making runs and scavenging things and trying to build up your little bases for folks. Yeah, it's great.
And having working with their individual sensitivities to each other. People will get along or not get along. Yeah, it's real cool. So
it's been forever since I played that game, so I am really looking forward to dipping back into it.
Yeah, it's gonna be real fun.
Yeah.
And then, so next week we'll be back with Super Mario Brothers 3 for the first episode of the new year.
Yeah.
If you like the show, head on over to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. Kick us some dollars. We'd really appreciate that.
Yeah. You help us out. That's the main thing, but also you get lots of bonus content. You get the full version of those premium episodes, The Sinking City and State of Decay. Also whole shows like Bonfire Side Chat Rekindled, Unfilmable. If you go up a tier, you get Adaptation Decay. There's lots and lots of stuff there, and it only gets more valuable as time goes on and more content is added to it.
So don't wait. But it does get more valuable.
It does, yes. There's never a bad time to get in. Let's say that.
No. And I think that's about it.
I think so. Thanks, everybody. This is coming out, early release. People are going to hear it before Christmas. Whether or not you celebrate, please have a fun and safe end of the year. We'll be back with more later on. And yeah, thanks for making 2021 despite everything. And there's a lot of everything. Just a big, successful, and fun for us. This is great. I love this job.
Yeah, absolutely. We really appreciate you.
Yeah.
Good night. See you next week.
Good night.